This week, Elon Musk is selling perfume, Netflix is setting up shop in New Jersey, and Apple is reportedly withholding benefits from union workers. Those are some of the tech news stories from this week, and it's Sunday, October 16th, 2022. My name is Kirk Corliss.
I'm Scott Ertz.
And I'm Avram Piltch.
And this is episode 111 and the second of three special episodes of GNC Week in Review and F5 Live Refreshing Technology Podcast. Proud partner of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. We are live on gncweekly.com/live, so please be sure to say hello and chat or comment. Also, be sure to like and subscribe to the GNC WIR channel on YouTube. If you missed a live video, it's okay. You can always catch the replay later. If you are a listener, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast where you can find the right-hand side column at gnc.com, be it Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. If you have a comment, be it on social media or email, and those links can be found at gncweekly.com/connect. So Scott is at home in his studio. Welcome back.
It's a little less crazy.
Crazy.
I'm in the right room with none of the right technology except the camera.
Well, that's a good thing.
But we're getting closer.
Right. Well, it's good to see you, my friend, as always. And Avram, it's good to see you as well. Welcome, my friend.
It's great to be here.
So anything you got going on with Tom? I know Piltch Point's coming up. We'll get into that shortly.
Yeah.
So
this was a big week for us. RTX 4090 card came out, top of the line. Check out our review. It is a really expensive card, but if you are Elon Musk and you don't have to spend it on Twitter, maybe you could spend it on an RTX 4090, because it is definitely, if you have to throw around, you definitely will get fantastic performance even at 4K. So that is great. So that was a big event, obviously. The NVIDIA also had a strange week. I'm surprised, actually, Scott, you didn't put this on as item to talk about with their last minute polling of the 4080, 12 gig from the market.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
What a weird situation.
An unlaunching of a graphics card. So before it had come out. And supposedly they're having to actually do something to like compensate partners who had worked on them, because if you were ASUS and you made some of these, you probably wasted a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
fascinating. I hadn't thought about that. This is with Roboticon, the world is crazy right now. So I didn't put much thought into it. Obviously, it was weird for them to pull a product like that.
And on Friday too, I think R&D. It was. Yeah. So, we strongly believe, by the way, for the folks who haven't heard of this, the third graphics card in the lineup of 4000 series graphics cards that were announced by NVIDIA a few weeks ago, the very week that the 4090, the top card, came out, or I don't know if you can quite get one yet, but the review came out. They had a 4080 16 gigabytes and a 4080 12 gigabytes, and the two different 4080s were different processors in them. So they shouldn't have had the same name, and people complained. And I don't think it's just because of the name, but they decided to pull the card from the market before putting it out. The 4080 12 gigabyte. And that was the cheapest card in the new lineup at, I think, $899. So the theory is that NVIDIA is losing money right now because they have a lot of unsold inventory. There's a lot of unsold graphics card inventory. That's also one of the problems that's going on with CPU, with PC. You'll read a lot of things about PC sales going down, but actually a lot of that is down compared to what, right? They're actually in a lot of cases up over what they were in 19, but they're down from the levels that they were when you had to deal with pandemic demand and crypto mining demand. So anyway, the theory is they want to get rid of the cheapest card in the new 3 because they're still trying to sell. They still are trying to sell those 3000 series cards, which are still a good deal, and that's kind of what I think is going on. But
that makes sense.
But it's just weird to sort of unlaunch something that was this far into. It's like it's the Batgirl of graphics cards.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, with that, speaking of Elon Musk, Avram, so in the last episode, we dived into the news that he proposed the completion of a deal to acquire Twitter. Then 3 days ago, he's under federal investigation due to his conduct in his acquisition of Twitter. So what does he do next? He's selling perfume.
Sure.
So he updated his Twitter bio. He updated his Twitter bio to quote perfume salesman as he released burnt hair. This is not a joke. Burnt hair.
Oh,
this is a new
everybody's favorite smell.
Hence, if you're watching the on YouTube, the thumbnail that I put up has a head on fire. So if you get and you also see on the podcast cover. So if you're listening to the audio stream, you'll see that as well. It's a new bottle fragrance available via the Boring Company website. Now, back in late September, Musk hinted at the upcoming product.
The most confusing of his companies.
Yeah, exactly right, and that's something that's been in discussion as well. So late September, Musk hinted at the upcoming product, tweeting, quote, burnt hair sent for men by Singed. He announced the availability of the perfume in a tweet on Tuesday, calling it the, quote, finest fragrance on earth. Apparently, he was testing out catchphrases and follow-up tweets ranging from, quote, doesn't get more lit than this, to, quote, be the change you want in the world. Now, it's being reported that burnt hair isn't trying to convince anyone it smells good. The product page has little details, right? Has very little details other than some advertising copy, calling it, quote, the essence of repugnant desire. There's also a couple quotes suggesting it smells like leaning over a candle at the dinner table, and that will help you stand out in a crowd as you walk through an airport. Musk is noting, quote, with a name like mine, getting into the fragrance business was inevitable. Why did I even fight it for so long?
Fair enough.
Apparently his celebrity status seems to be powering the sales. Now, get this, the bottle per bottle perfume is $100. On Tuesday night, he said buyers had already purchased 10,000 bottles of burnt hair. He tweeted, can't wait for media stories tomorrow about $1 million of burnt hair sold. So we dissected this, and
I feel like we're getting further away from it, bud.
I don't understand, why is he doing this? Just to do it? Or is there like some type of ulterior motive? And why are people buying it?
Why did he come out with the flamethrower?
Right.
Because he could.
Right.
Okay.
But I think this is a distraction because I believe it was on Tuesday. It was on Tuesday. No, this was reported on Monday or Tuesday or Monday, if I get my days mixed up, where he's getting in trouble. He's in trouble with I believe it was the SEC, I believe. And I think we talked about that in the last episode. I think you mentioned it, Avram. So I think this is a distraction where he's in hot water. He's been in hot water for years. This is not nothing new. So I think this is a distraction. But the psyche, we're dialing into his psyche, which does not make any sense. But also too, and here's another thing: he bought that flamethrower.
I have two friends that have them.
Oh my god!
What do they do with it?
They're like on a wall somewhere because they're so weird.
Okay.
So the question was asked, who is buying this? So let me tell you something interesting. So I went to Google and I typed in burnt hair, and the autocomplete is there's one that might be, but all of them are autocompletes for this. It's burnt hair, perfume, cologne, perfume review, smell, perfume price, review, perfume smell, perfume buy. Now, you go over to Bing and type in the same thing, and it's burnt hair, smell, color, treatment, meme, syndrome, smell from furnace, smell in house, and chutney.
Okay.
Now, that last one I can't put together at all.
No, I.
So it's definitely not Bing's customers,
right,
who are making these purchases. But it's really interesting that the autocomplete on Google is entirely based on this, and none of it is on Bing. Right? But what?
Yeah.
What is what?
Right. This is something.
Nope.
This is something.
Nope.
I think this is again. I think this is a distraction. From, he's
because which topic are we talking about?
Right. Right.
Are we talking about his trouble with the SEC? No. We're talking about him being a weirdo and creating a perfume that smells like burnt hair.
I mean, why does it matter what people are talking about? Like, if the SEC is going to I don't know, bring charges against him, they're not going to be distracted.
True.
So
true. Right.
He doesn't need, like, he's not a politician. He doesn't need to worry about getting votes. Right. Like, I mean, why does this seems like someone who just really needs people's approval or to be attention, or someone who's just like,
that's what I was going to say. I think he needs attention. I think
him like a cat.
I agree with you, Amber. I think he's looking for attention. I think that he's like basically, his back is not against the wall, but he's trying to put himself out there, and people. And I agree. He's like, and like Scott said, a weirdo. I mean, he is odd on so many levels, but also in the same token, he's a genius. I mean, he has Starlink, Boring Company. I would beg to differ, but however, he's gotten so many good. I wouldn't say products, but maybe products, but I mean, he is basically, people are buying Teslas. People are getting the, Todd, has the Starlink satellite in his home. So there are people out there.
Yeah, because his other option was to get a bullhorn and just shout.
Right.
That was his internet option at where he lives.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So I think he wants to get I think he craves the attention. I think that and also too, he's basically just putting things out there, and in a sense also too, throwing things against the wall and see if something sticks. And apparently this one thing one of sticks.
He has such a desire for people to pay attention to him and notice him and know what he's up to, that he has seemingly quite literally lit his hair on fire. Right.
Hence thumbnail.
Is it his hair? Do we know that?
I mean, let's hope.
No, it's not his hair. It's not his hair. From what I was told, it's not his hair.
I mean, how many would you have to? Let's be fair here. How many would you have to light on fire to produce it? I mean, it's like, what was the name of that person who, like, there was that whole story like a year or two ago. She sold bottles of her farts. And then she ended up claimed. I'm sorry, we don't know that any of this is true. She claimed to end up in the hospital because she ate something or took something to cause her to have more gas, to have more farts. So she ended up in this. But but never mind that they meet along. I don't think anybody actually fact checked her hospital. Admittance. I
don't know that anybody fact checked the content of the bottles.
That too. Like, this is quite honest. If you're like, I really need to give you legit farts. They got to be my farts. I can't outsource my gas. Whatever. Like, so you know, so I end up in the hospital from I don't know what she took to ate or whatever. It's too many beans or something, and like the and then her solution to that was she was going to sell NFTs of farts.
Oh,
I remember that.
Which I don't get because doesn't there have to be an actual fart somewhere to NFT it? So even if the jar never leaves her house, doesn't she still have to fart in a jar? Just put it on a shelf and be like, I'm selling you the NFT for this fart. But anyway, yes, people will buy ridiculous stuff. They have too much money on their hands and not
right.
not enough intelligence. And
Gamer
so,
girl bathwater.
right. So if people will buy the bath water or the farts, I guess they'll buy something that smells like burnt hair. But he didn't say it was his burnt hair.
True.
Right. That's true.
Hey, Kirk, did you think this is the direction that story was headed?
No. Honestly, I had never heard a story so this is actually true that someone actually was manufacturing.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
It's true that she was selling them and claimed to be manufacturing them. Nobody has fact checked the actual validity of whether they were her farts or whether she ended up in the hospital as a result of her need to meet production deadlines.
Okay. I wonder how many. Did you know how many she sold? I mean, I'm just kind of
a lot. Enough. I don't know.
Really? Holy crap!
Yeah, I don't remember what the claimed number was. Obviously, there's no way for us to fact check any of it.
Right.
It may have never happened. However, we know enough. We know enough about the internet to know that it happened.
That is
all
true.
I can say is when I end up in like the bunker next to people that like watching like nuclear fallout, I'll be like, the society started to end when people started. But the beginning of the end was when people paid to buy farts.
Oh my goodness gracious! I'm speechless. We're analyzing. We're again psychoanalyzing the thinking of Elon Musk's attributes and what he wonders what he's going to do next. We're going into it. Kudos to you, Avram. Kudos to you. We're going into it.
I mean, this is about the same reasoning that people would buy. It's not even claiming to be his hair, so it's even weaker sauce than that. That they this is a man who clearly is proved valuable commodity in the universe, not money, and no matter how much money he has, it doesn't get him as much attention as he wants.
Right.
So he's
literally buying it.
So that's what's going on. He wants attention.
Yep. Well, I wish. Well, let's move on because I'm going to be giggling weirder. I'm going to be giggling like through the entire episode. So, yeah, right. Success. Okay. Next up. So Netflix has emerged as a lead bidder to purchase a 289 acre tract of land at the former Fort Monmouth Army Base in Monmouth County. This is New Jersey, where the company plans to build a large production complex. The company said in a statement on Wednesday that there is, quote, still work to be done on the deal with state and local leaders. Netflix officials said the company is the, quote, preferred choice for the Fort Monmouth development project is a proposal for a state-of-the-art production complex. A Netflix spokesperson said, quote, if our plans are approved, we hope to build a facility that will create significant economic impact and job growth for New Jersey, a state loaded with creative talent and technical expertise. Netflix did not disclose the dollar amount of their bid, but said if it's signed, possibly in the next few months, it'll be subject to another period of due diligence and approvals from an assortment of local, county, and state approvals. The governor's office said in a statement to New Jersey Advanced Media, quote, Governor Murphy is delighted to hear that Netflix is interested in establishing a serious presence in New Jersey. He looks forward to working with them and the rest of the industry to create good-paying jobs and spur economic growth throughout the state. The former base, which closed in 2011, after nearly 100 years of military activity, is being redeveloped by the Fort Monmouth Revitalization Authority, or FMERA. The agency accepted bids for the tract, which they call the which they call the mega parcel until June. So it's good to see a studio setting up on the East Coast. God knows how much they paid for it, but when you buy land, and I'm familiar with that area, it's South Jersey, near me or down me. So it's good that they're setting up shop, and we're able to go out to California or any other locale to possibly shoot reality shows, movies maybe.
It's definitely a better use of a decommissioned military base than Woodstock 99. So
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, good for New Jersey, which good for. I mean, I guess Netflix is still going to be trying to invest in original content if they're going to be spending all this money on the studio, which, by the way, they really do not need to do. I mean, they've obviously had a studio for a while. They've had studios, plus they don't need to have their own studio to have Netflix original content. They can just pay other studios to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's money that, I wonder why they're investing. But hey, I mean, because isn't this the same place that's trying to cut corners because they're losing subscribers, and they think they overinvested in original content. Before they pay a dime to Will Smith for Bright 2 or whatever, they are now spending all this money just to buy land, which then they have to construct upon. So
right
now you're talking, I mean, at least probably hundreds of millions of dollars to construct this complex that they're going to use. And that's before they have a single project there. It's not like they needed, it doesn't seem like they needed more space to shoot, but I guess if they do, great. I mean, good for New Jersey, good for all the people who get jobs, but I don't know how this aligns with Netflix constantly cutting stuff. I mean, maybe this is a place that actually shoots for other. Well, like maybe they'll license it out, just as like there are other studios that like Sony will, shoot stuff for ABC, but Disney will shoot stuff for people. So who knows, right? Who knows? I mean, a new studio being open on the East Coast is kind of cool, considering that most of the openings these days tend to be happening in either lower cost states like Georgia. or in Canada. So
made in Georgia.
so I guess we'll have to see. I mean, I think it would be cool. So hopefully it good for them. I mean, however, I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't work out, because Netflix isn't under pressure to cut to make all kinds of cuts. So new investment like that seems like it wouldn't be the thing to do, but
hey. One of the things that they said was that they wanted to invest in less quantity, more quality, which is what you and I have been saying for years needed to happen. Less, throwing things at the wall and hoping something sticks, and more going into it knowing that things were going to work. And maybe they're doing the whole we don't trust anybody anymore thing. We're going to do it all ourselves. We're going in-house, which there's been some talk of. So I'm not to say it's a good idea, but it does seem to track with some of the things they've been up to lately. So yeah. I don't know. It definitely seems to be like a time of chaos over there. They don't quite know what their next move is, because they're in an uncomfortable position, and that is not being the king.
Yeah.
So since they dethroned Blockbuster, they've been the king, and they just don't know what to do with not that. So,
well, we'll see what happens in the weeks and months to come. All right. Up next, Apple reportedly declining. Excuse me. Apple reportedly declined to offer new benefits to employees in its only unionized retail store. Coming from Bloomberg, the unionized workers, excuse me, at the store in Townsend, Maryland, will need to negotiate for benefits with Apple as they hash out a collective bargaining agreement. The perks in question haven't been announced publicly yet, as of yet, excuse me, but they said to include additional health plan benefits in some jurisdictions, funds to take educational classes, and a free Coursera membership. Reporting is suggesting that by withholding benefits from unionized workers who have organized Apple may be dissuading workers at other retail stores from attempting to form a union. The workers at the Apple's Townsend store will soon start formal union contract negotiating with Apple. Engage as I can contact the company for comment. The International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers Coalition of Organized Retail Employees, say that 5 times real fast, or IM Core, provide the following statement to Engadget. Quote, despite the news from Apple today, our goal is still the same. We are urging Apple to negotiate in good faith so we can reach an agreement over the next few weeks. The IM Core Negotiating Committee is dedicated to securing a deal that gives our IM Core members the proper respect and dignity at work and sets the standard in the tech industry. And it's been also reported that, that Starbucks and other, other retail stores are also forming unions. We've discussed and dived into Amazon over the past year. So we'll see. So this is something that, Apple, I always said that big companies like Apple are not going to, they're not going to give in to it. They're going to basically, they want to work there. Great. If you want benefits, well, that's a whole different story altogether.
So, I mean, one of the things, though, that if you are management and you have employees who are in a bargaining unit, it can be, it can be a difficult situation when you talk about adding benefits that haven't been negotiated for by the union. So, very often, if you have a bargaining unit, like they're going to get different, they're going to negotiate and get different benefits than people who are not in the bargaining unit. So, so they may not, like, I don't know if the union would quote unquote object to them being given more benefits, but their stance is, look, if you're going to negotiate benefits, we're not going to give you benefits you didn't negotiate for.
Right. Well, the company I work for is union, and I believe that when with the contract that's coming next year, a lot of people working from home, and a lot of employees wanted that bargained in addition to the contract, and the company and union worked together, and they hashed out the contract. I believe it's I can't remember these. Don't quote me. I can't really go over it in detail. But one of the main things that was hashed out was working from home and the stipulations, and and not having cameras on, and on the webcams or what have you. So there's a lot of stipulations, and it was agreed upon majority overwhelmingly. So, but again, with Apple though, we've discussed that before about it. Is that they were resistant on unions. Amazon resistant, but there's also what's been known as called union busting as well. So, it's going to be hard to figure out what's going to happen next with them. They're going to say yes or no to it. So,
anytime unions are involved, it's complicated, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whether you're for them or against them, irrelevant. When unions are complicated beasts, and they certainly introduce unpredictability. A little bit like adding a dice roll into a game, right? You don't necessarily know how it's going to go.
Yeah. All right. And now it's time for FI Refreshing Technology and Nifty Gifties.
This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live Refreshing Technology and GNC Week in Review is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, tablet, Xbox, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. Remember, current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% off almost everything. To browse the products and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Gotta say, it's really weird to have those intros go and not have any responsibility. Anyway, because they're all pre-recorded and it's very confusing. Anyway, so staying on Microsoft, this week we finally got word on exactly what Microsoft was doing with new devices. A couple of weeks ago on GNC Week in Review, we talked about some additional SKUs that had been added to the Plugkit's commission structure for that promo just there. And so we knew that there was some new stuff coming. The categories gave us some clues, and it does seem like we were mostly correct in our guesses. We've got things like the upgrade to the Surface Studio, the new Surface Studio 2 Plus, which is a very strange name for a device whose port configuration has changed, which means the motherboard has changed, the processor has changed. So I don't know why they didn't just go with a 3, but whatever. It's the Surface Studio 2 Plus. If you don't remember the Surface Studio, don't be surprised, because the 2 came out with a 6th gen Intel Core processor. It's the one that's an all-in-one that has the big movable screen, and Panos did a whole demo like leaning into it and writing on it. Anyway, the new ones, the 2 Plus has an 11th gen Core i7, and it's $4,300. There is one configuration right now. They're like, it starts at false. One configuration. Yes, that's it. Other ones are supposed to be coming, but that still means starts at $4,300. I can't tell you how much I love the design and will never own one, because what? That's too much for a pretty niche computer, right?
Yeah. I mean, what you're paying for here, I guess, is the monitor.
Yeah. Which is beautiful.
Which is nice, but still is overpriced even for the monitor. Like,
yeah.
I guess it's based on the concept that a lot of businesses don't care us, or seemingly don't care how much, because you could build this PC for thousands less, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first using a chip that is almost 2 generations. We are very soon going to see Raptor Lake, which is 13th gen core. 12th gen core has been out for a while. So you would, a Core i7 that's 12th gen core these days, maybe $250. Motherboard, let's say it was a decent motherboard, maybe $150, $200 if you needed to. A terabyte SSD can be had for $90. 32 gigs of DDR4 can be had for $100.
So we're at $650 so far.
Right, exactly.
And of course, we'll get into more details on exactly that topic.
Yes,
but the Piltch Point.
You could build this for under $1,000. Okay,
yeah.
Sans the monitor, and then the monitor, maybe, granted it's a weird aspect ratio, 4,500 by 3,000.
Yeah.
But let's say you were to get a really nice like art, like color quality, 4K 28-inch display. You could do that for probably less than 1,000. So, you're spending a lot to get Surface stuff.
Yeah, and to have that like the bendy bit, right? That because in all reality, that's the thing, right? That's the thing that makes the Surface Studio interesting. And so you're paying essentially $2,000 plus for that hinge. No, thank you.
I haven't really looked into this because it's not something that's been interesting to me. Is it possible to just buy a third-party hinge like that, put it on a Visa? I bet you can find out. The other wrinkle to this is you don't see a lot of 4K great color quality monitors with touch. Mm-hmm. So with touch or active stylus support or whatever. So maybe that's like a little bit of a wrinkle. But I guess I'd like to hear from professional artists. I mean, I guess somebody's buying it or they wouldn't keep making it, who are like, yeah, I want to take my monitor and I just want to bend it down like this and I want to write it because I don't see a lot of people doing that. I mean, don't they use primarily Wacom's or they're going to use a tablet?
Wacom's got a relationship with Microsoft on the Surface Pens. So there is that. And I know 2 artists and a video editor who use a Studio 2 and really like that whole, like, you can almost lay on it aspect of it because it's like having a proper animation board because you can literally put it into that position, but you can kind of do that with a Wacom too. So, I don't know. It's kind of in the same price point as the Wacom drawing PC, which is physically smaller and doesn't have the hinge. So, there's definitely a target demo for it, and the 3 of us are not it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, the Surface Laptop might be targeted at people like us. Granted, I've got the sister here in front of me, but the Surface Laptop is more, a person's computer as opposed to a very specific device. And so the Surface Laptop 5 is also part of this core announcement. We've got like normal, there's a smaller and a larger model. This device is the same way. There's an Intel and an AMD option. Interestingly, 12th gen Intel core as opposed to the 11 in the Studio 2 Plus, which is interesting. Thunderbolt 4, Wi-Fi 6, all of the things. 2256 by 1504. So you want to talk about interesting numbers for screen res. And back to sticking with the 3:2 aspect ratio, there'll be somewhere starting at 1,000 and 1,200 for the 2 sizes, going up tons and tons and tons of customization with the Surface Laptop, colors and all kinds of things. What I don't know for sure is whether or not there will be a blue one and whether that blue one will have a horrible texture to it, like the last couple of generations of Surface Laptop in blue. It's like trying to type on felt. It's horrible. Microsoft, seriously, listen. I would have a blue one if it didn't feel like a carpet. The black one you can get in normal or shag, but the blue one you don't get a choice in. It's annoying. Anyway, I don't know about that. I'll have to put my hands on one at some point. But yeah, so Surface Laptop in a pretty standard Microsoft price point for that category, and a whole generation newer processor. I seriously, and we talked about this before, Avram. I seriously think that the Surface Studio is designed by a team in the past. Because when the 2 came out with the 6th gen, we were on to like the 8th. So
I think they just have a long lead time or something to do it, and then they're not allowed to like, mess with it. Like, hey, listen, you got, now I can't. It's hard. I guess people who want the screen, they want the screen. I mean, the best thing that could really happen is, I guess for people who are trying to do stuff for creative, care about this, but like, just sell the monitor. That would be the best thing. Just sell the monitor with the hinge, and then let people connect it to any desktop that they want.
100%.
That would be the best scenario, but
Surface Studio display.
Yeah, that would be the best. That would be the best scenario. Just do that, and then, the monitor will last for years, right? And
generations of computer,
right? And then people won't feel as bad about investing it. But it's for a really particular type of person, and if they are part of a large corporation, a lot of large corporations don't mind spending money on stuff that priced. Not any place I've ever worked, though. Every place I work, nickel and dimes, every peripheral, nickel and dimes, everything. But that there.
I want a second monitor. Look over here.
Yeah. I had to like fight and claw to get a second monitor at my job, but there are companies like I deal a lot with. I go and meet with Lenovo and HP and Dell, talking about like some of the high-end laptops that they come out with, and they will use the term executive. Like, can you imagine that? Like somebody, like something like the ThinkPad Fold, for example, right? Which is a really, really, really expensive laptop that probably not so great for productivity. And I ask, who buys it? Oh, the CEO. Why? Because if you're the CEO, you can make the IT department buy it for you.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't actually have a lot of typing or work because, hey, you have people for that. So
true.
I don't know. I guess there are companies out there like that, that can do that. And if there's something like
this isn't one of them.
Yes. So this isn't something for the executives, but if you're Pixar, I guess you're willing to spend
the
money, but I don't know if Pixar will spend the money because they're probably an Apple shop. I bet most places that are really, really high end, design like that are probably Apple shops. But who knows? I guess, like you said, there's somebody who wants it. So
for sure. I want it, but I'm not going to have it. And then staying on the weird decisions, Microsoft has combined 2 of its Surface lines, the Pro, which is the core of the Surface family, and the Pro X, the redheaded stepchild of the Surface family. They've combined them into one line in the new Pro 9. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that the Surface Pro 9, similar but different to the Surface laptop, comes with processor choices, including Intel and ARM. Now, if you have followed F5 Live in the past, and including the Piltch Point, we have had conversations about Windows on ARM, and
for the record, and we were talking about this before we came on the air. Avram, God bless the man, went on Twitter and just basically blasted it. And for example, he said,
"Oh, you got quotes pulled up? Awesome."
Yes, I do. He said,
"I can just read it."
Go ahead.
Yeah, what were you going to say? Sure.
All right. He said, well, one of them, I'm not going to read all of them, but the first one, he said, want to make Windows on ARM useful. Instead of being limited to a handful of overpriced Snapdragon laptops, Microsoft should make it run on a wide variety of low-end ARM-powered chips, and then let people install on single board computers like Raspberry Pi, in parentheses, without hex.
Yeah, because you could do it now with that. You could do it now with a hack. So we have an article on how to do that in Tom's Hardware. But Windows on ARM, which is what you need to run something with a Surface 9, right? The whole experiment of Qualcomm processors on laptops, I feel like, is a total fail. But they just keep trying to make it happen. Like the premise of it is very simple. By using the same type of processor that you use in a phone or tablet, you could achieve better battery life, and you could have 5G built in to the chipset, like you do on your phone. So take what's in here, make it a little bit faster, put some more RAM and bigger storage, and put it into a laptop. And that means that none of the software that you run, it'll either have to be run through an emulation mode, which slows things down, or developers will have to develop ARM versions of their software compiled for ARM. Not a terrible idea on the surface to bring some competition to base for PCs and say, like, okay, we could have a whole other type of chip, when right now up till now it's been AMD and Intel making x86 chips that run Windows. However, the way that the run is, it's been sort of a Qualcomm monopoly. It's been a handful of laptops with Qualcomm Snapdragon chips inside, and they are extremely overpriced. The performance is noticeably worse than a regular Intel chip, and is not much better, if at all. So it's been a complete waste. So for example, a great example of this would be the ThinkPad, Lenovo ThinkPad X13s that came out a few months ago. So if we look at, this is a Snapdragon powered ThinkPad, the first ThinkPad to have it inside, and it boasts a ton of battery life. And I'm going to look up now exactly what it costs, but I know. So it starts at, what is the current starting price for it? Okay, you can get one for as little as $1,000 on a huge sale, but that's with 8 gigs of RAM. So let's say that's a weird situation. So most of them, though, if you go to Lenovo.com, are over $2,000 for 16 gigs of RAM, 512 SSD, and a 1920 by 1200 display. Why? So for those who are keeping score at home, the Qualcomm version, the Qualcomm ThinkPad, is not way less than say a ThinkPad, a 13-inch ThinkPad with AMD or Intel, like the ThinkPad Z13. So the ThinkPad Z13 can be with these similar specs, can be had for several $100s, lasts about 14 hours on a charge, has impeccable performance. The ThinkPad X13s with these specs at $2,100 lasts 16 hours on a charge. So you're getting 2 more hours on a charge, but worse performance and much higher price. And you've got 5G built in. Let's have a party. Every time I see these talks about ARM processors, they seem to think that people who are buying them are stupid, and that they haven't heard that they can get 5G without having the ARM processor inside the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, first of all, there are a number of laptops that have 5G modem options. So like I don't know about the ThinkPad Z13, but like ThinkPad X1 Carbon, it's like $150 or $200 option to have a Qualcomm 5G modem put into your, configured in your. No reason why you have to have their crappy processor and settle for a subpar version of Windows that can't run all your programs properly just to get 5G. Also, if you're really trying to save money, you could always just use your phone and use Wi-Fi tethering, but which is not not expensive at all. But let's say you just have to have 5G on your computer because it's just open, but there it is. It's connected to 5G. Wonderful. You can get laptops with that option for $150 or $200 more. More. Why would you want this? This is like trying to make something happen that doesn't make sense. Now, if you were to take that Windows on ARM and say, oh, great, just like regular Windows, you can install on like almost anything you want, great. Then we could see some innovation. You could see some cheap stuff. I'd love to be able to take like one of those really cheap all-winner, computers on a stick that runs Android and run Windows on it. Yeah. Great. That's fun. But overpaying for less performance because you claim to have, because you think I'm too dumb to know that I can get 5G elsewhere, not a winning strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the whole concept of, theoretically run anywhere was the promise of WinRT, which obviously was never going to whatever. And that was never going to work. But anyway, that was the promise of that, and it failed. And then they're like, "Oh, we've got an idea. How about we do the same thing again?"
Yeah.
This time for sure it's gonna be a win. What? It's not working? Who could have guessed that? That seems crazy.
I mean, it's getting incrementally better. The performance is incrementally better than it was.
Thank goodness for that.
It's the compatibility. This is now it can run 64-bit apps or something. It's getting a little better. Sure, maybe you could live with it if all you're doing is using the browser. But why would you pay more money for less performance? Yep. What is this, Apple?
Oh, there was a tag.
More money for more for less. I mean,
the opposite of what was the name of that store? It's gone. Doesn't matter.
I mean, it's like you could buy a Pixel, an Android phone for $500, but guess what? If you want the same processor in your laptop, pay more than you do for the better processor.
Right. And it's not like what we're talking about is Continuum, right? Which there's a conversation to be had with Windows 10 Continuum. You use the phone on a screen, it becomes a computer. Samsung does it, whatever. But that's not what this is.
No. It's I mean, look, I think the idea, Microsoft's probably done some nice work on Windows and ARM. If they stop trying to do it to try and sell Qualcomm stuff, and they just started to say like, okay, we want this operating system to compete with Linux or something, and make it as an option so that people can install it on all kinds of stuff, then you might see some innovation. Then you might see somebody take a cheap-tastic, like all-winner brand processor like you see in a cheap tablet, try making a computer out of that. Okay, that could be all right because there are Chromebooks that use ARM processors and
Win 10 IoT Core is not good enough.
No, because that's not the actual operating system.
Right, exactly. It's basically old school Windows embedded.
Right, exactly. So anyhow, yes, they're all trying to make this happen. And, for some people, again, if you're spending someone else's money, I guess it might be okay, but it's not a good setup. Also, a lot. What really upsets me, and I had a long talk with my friend Sharif from Laptop Mag about this like the other day. If ARM is the future of PCs, then the future of PCs is very bleak, because that means that everything is a sealed box. You can't upgrade anything. You can't change anything. You can't build anything. That is a very that's a really bad situation, and I hope we don't end up there.
Me too. Me too. By the way, one of my favorite people, Shuri. So all of these things are coming in about 10 days. This one obviously for too much money on the ARM side, though on the Intel side, lots of people like Surface products. Again, I've got one in front of me. There's a couple of Pros around here as well. Interestingly, there's an RT upstairs, but and a Continuum device in the closet, but that's neither here nor there. $999 for the one and $12.99 for the other for the Pro, and then obviously, like we said, way too much money for the Surface Studio. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. To piggyback on our last topic, the future of PCs is not bleak because it's not ARM, and you can build your own computer, which is a big part of Avram's life. and there's
it is indeed.
There's an updated list of PCs.
So this is a great time to build a PC. Just don't try to do it with ARM because you can't anyway. But this is a great time to build a PC if you're not planning to buy obviously in terms of the high end, we've just seen the Ryzen 7000 chips come out. We're about to see Intel Raptor Lake come out. And those are going to be somewhat expensive, especially AMD ones are really expensive because the motherboards are really expensive. But if you're okay with, but we maintain a list of the best PC builds and on Tom's Hardware, and our list we're primarily looking at like what is a good value for you right now. And what's a good value for you right now is to use Intel 12th gen core primarily, and possibly some Intel and possibly a couple of AMD 5000 series, but mostly 12th gen core. So what can you build? Let me share my screen here, and we'll take a look at an article we have where I actually have laid out the different builds that you can have. So if you look here, you can build a gaming PC for less than $500. And you can build it with discrete graphics. The key here is you want to go with the Intel Core i3 12100F, which, by the way, is not going to be replaced anytime soon, because when the new 13th gen comes out, they're the Core i3 right away. So for that, you're going to need an H610 motherboard chipset. We are going to keep it under $500. We had to cut this to a motherboard that doesn't support M2 SSDs. So if you could spend $10 more, you could get a motherboard that did support better SSDs. But we're at a price point. Similarly, if you want to get a discrete GPU that will fit in this price range, you will need either an AMD RX 6400 GPU or the hard to get, usually out of stock, Intel Arc A380 GPU, which actually is really quite good for the price, and I think you can get that for about $130 when it's in stock. You can still, at this price, go for 16 gigs of RAM. and you can get a 500 gig SSD. Although if you buy the motherboard that we bought, you'll have to get a SATA one, which will be about $46. And then, you know, you're going to have to economize. If you want it to be under $500, you have to and the power supply a little bit. So we found a mint green case from a DIY PC that has tempered glass, so not that bad for $41. But a few dollars over 500, you can do a bit better on these components, particularly the graphics card. Another $20 to $30 gets you a Radeon 65 XT, which is much faster, much better for 1080p gaming. But still, with a 6400, you'll be able to play 1080p games at least at medium settings, and you know, ultra settings close to playable. Now, if you jump up to $1,000 bill, then you have really something nice. So you can go for is either, let's say AMD, is a Core i5 12400F, which is a pretty powerful processor, which you can get for about $193. Again, you can get your motherboard for less than $100, and then you can jump up to either a Radeon 6700 XT or a 3060 Ti graphics card. The 6700 XT, it actually is quite a bit faster and a bit faster and a better deal. In AMD in general with the graphics cards right is a better deal, unless you want to do ray tracing, because the ray tracing performance of NVIDIA is still a lot better. But if you don't care about ray tracing, you get a lot more frames per second. AMD. Again, we can go for 16 gigabytes, for a terabyte with a PCIe 4 drive, so pretty fast drive, and a much nicer case. So now if we look at what you get if you're willing to spend up to say $1,500, you'd use the same. We'd still go with the same Core i5 12400F. We would get a slightly better motherboard, and we jump up to now either a 3070 Ti or a 6800 XT graphics card, and we can go up to 32 gigs of RAM easily. We can go up to a 2 terabyte SSD. The best SSD you can buy right now is the SK Hynix Platinum P41, the fastest, and you know, a nicer case. Finally, if we go to our high-end build, we're going to go with a Core i5 12600K. Again, we don't need to go all the way to a Core i7 or even a Core i9 to get really fantastic performance. We're better off spending that money on the graphics card. So here we'll spend it on a 3080, and using that to drive our gaming performance. If you go to the super high end where you just don't care how much you're going to spend, you spend still less than a Surface, the Surface Studio. The top of the line gaming processor at this moment, waiting for the new Intels to come out and possibly beat it, is the Ryzen 7 5800X 3D, not the new Ryzen 9 7950X. It's the Ryzen 7 5800X 3D for gaming, because it has so much VCAche, so much cache, so much L3 cache, that makes it really fantastic for gaming, better than even the new CPUs. And there again, we would spend the money on the graphics card, going to a 3090 Ti, or possibly now we have not yet tested the, I think, 1200, and of course the 4090. If you could spend another, is I think $1599, and that's even faster than this. But I think the key element here is you can build a pretty decent gaming PC $100 and $1,000. really, I guess if I were building, I'd probably go for somewhere between the 500 and the 1000 build. And I would, look at, okay, how much, I could actually have a lesser graphics card than this, maybe a 6600, and cut this price to maybe $800 or $850.
And regular viewers and listeners probably know that we literally used your specs to do the gaming PCs for Strike, and people are really, really impressed with them. And we did what you just said. We went between your 500 and your 1000.
Yeah, I should probably put like an 800 on there this week or something.
Yeah,
to price it out because there's a big difference between 500 and 1000 build, right? You really want, like, ideally, you really want to have at least a terabyte SSD in a PC if you can. You really want to have, you would like to have an M2 SSD, probably PCIe 4 if you can. It seems though that right now you are definitely getting better for your money, at least in the gaming space with Intel. Now, if you are doing productivity also, you can get more cores and threads for your money with an AMD 5000 series, which is still a good deal. And you can get the motherboards are slightly cheaper if you're going for like a B550 motherboard. The thing about the new AMD 7000s is it's not that the chips are so overpriced. I mean, they are quite expensive, but it's the motherboards. The cheapest motherboard that you can buy for the new 7000 series is $290. So you're just going to get killed on the motherboard because they have to use DDR5 RAM and they have to support PCIe 5.
Yeah.
So those things add to the cost of the motherboard. And so the first line of motherboards that have come out have been super expensive.
Oof. Yeah, that's obviously less than ideal if you're looking to do something budget. But, if you're throwing caution to the wind.
Yeah,
you can certainly hardcore future-proof.
Yes.
And the updated version of
so this is on tomshardware.com right now. It's our best PC builds, and we update it on a frequent basis to help you find the least expensive, the most, make the builds of the most for your money. Obviously, whatever we recommend, you tweak. So if you don't like the mint green case, add some money to the to your budget and get one that's a little nicer than that. Although I don't know, mint green can be kind of fun, but I bet you it's probably not I'm sure it's not as much fun to build in as like a nicer case. So you got to figure out where you're going to spend your money if you have a budget, and I would always put that money into the CPU, the GPU, the RAM, and the storage before I put it into the case or into the power supply or into the motherboard.
Well, I'll make the recommendation. There's a Rosewell case available on Newegg for about $50. I think it's 53 most of the time. And it's got LED and all kinds of stuff. It's a really cool case. It's for the extra $6. I know it would have put us over 500.
Yeah. That's the problem when I'm doing these is I'm trying to say that I did it for under 500, which by the way, like the next day anything could go offset. Could raise the price $1 and break my article. But but yes, I mean I definitely think that folks should spend a few more dollars to get maybe a nicer case. I also think they should spend a few more dollars to get a Radeon 6500 instead of a 6400 because there's a huge performance delta for like $30.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as always, Avram, definitely appreciate it. I always love the updates, and again, I've literally used your structure to go put some PCs together. So thanks again for that. And as always, I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology and GNC Week in Review is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0, 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. Oh, one of my favorite topics, obviously, /sarcasm, is the closing up of cloud-based games. Long-time listeners might remember my my public rant when EA closed Playfish and SimCity Social went away. Now we have a game in another long-time popular series going away. It is Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier. Now, if you've never heard of this one, that's okay. You're going to understand why the game's probably going away. It was a Battle Royale spin-off set in the Final Fantasy VII universe. And it was available for iOS and Android. So, if you missed it, it's okay. You didn't miss a whole lot. I definitely experimented with it. I'm not a big Battle Royale person, though at Strike I do end up playing more Fortnite than I'm happy about. But it wasn't great, and the developer's aware of that, and they kind of admitted that that's the reason it's going away. The quote from a statement from the company was, "Despite all our efforts to bring you regular updates with fresh and exciting content, we haven't been able to deliver the experience that we were hoping to and that you all deserve. So we've made the extremely tough decision to end service for Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier." Okay. Now, I can both not care about this game at all and still be annoyed by the way cloud gaming works. I obviously I grew up on games that we literally still have fully functional running at Strike right now. My personal genesis from when I was a kid is sitting there on a CRT television. Don't worry. Hooked up for people to play without any of the digital lag. And it fully functional, right? Short of destroying the cartridge, the games are fully functional. But here, and especially with this type of game, where the business model is sell skins, sell items, sell things, for it to just go away always annoys me. I don't know, Kirk, if you've been part of this conversation. Avram and I have had this conversation many times over the years, along with some past hosts. But I don't know that you and I have ever had this conversation.
I don't.
Where do you sit on this?
Me, I'm in your camp, in Abram's camp. I am not really interested in cloud gaming. I haven't since I haven't. I mean, for me, I would rather go into I had a Nintendo 64. I was playing GoldenEye, which I think is the best game, hands down, as a
coming
shooter.
To Xbox Game Pass soon.
Okay, well, that needs to go to. Well, I have to need invest in Xbox, But I'm with you. I'm not really into cloud gaming. Look what happened with Google with Stadia. Look how long that lasted.
Yeah.
And of course, Google's been killing a lot of projects over the many years. So I just don't really, for me, I don't understand I follow it. I follow cloud gaming as far as the news concerned, and also and various websites and what have you. But Yeah, I can't really get my
I,
heart into it.
And I take a different position on the concept of the cloud streaming games, right? Where
Right.
you can like Game Pass, right? What, $15 a month, and you're essentially it's essentially Netflix, right? You're renting access to the games. Yeah, the games come and go. Some of them you can download, some of them you can stream. It's an interesting concept. It's not for everybody, but it's not. But in those things, you get the in-game stuff, just like Apple Arcade and Google Play something, whatever they call theirs. You get the in-game things, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Whereas with this, you're paying for the in-game things, and the game goes away. It's very NFT to me.
Well, that's what happened with Google Stadia. That's everything was in-game, in-app purchase.
Yeah,
and
but when they shut that down, they gave all the money back.
Actually, for someone, from what I understand, I did look into it. I checked out where I think it's one of the descriptions. I think it's Pro that they're not getting their money back. Supposedly, I think it's Pro or
because it's for purchases. It's for actual purchases. Right. It's not for the rental.
So
if you paid for the rental of the games, you got the use that you paid for. Right. If you purchased a game on the service and the service is going away, so is your purchase, they're refunding that money. Which that makes sense to me. But I've legitimately been bitter about this since SimCity Social. And how long ago was that, Avram? That was... Nick was still around. John might have still been around.
You can't... Listen. With games, I don't know. I mean, like... It's kind of... You know what you're getting into when you get into it with one of these games. Like, how much of your time and your life are you going to invest in something that's online and can go away? On the other hand, you can say that they're games, and so when the game is gone, it's sad, but I guess there's another game for you. But if you put a lot of time in it, that would be annoying. If it were like, if you had spent a lot of time creating mods or levels or something like that, and they just killed it, you would be you would be upset. Did that happen in Little Big Planet?
I think so.
I found Little Big Planet to be very confusing.
Yeah, me too. I was never a fan.
Yeah, I mean, my son played it for a while.
I was a fan of the E3 presentation for the first one, and that was where my interest ended. It was a wonderful presentation.
There was a racing one,
and nothing happened.
There was a racing one that my son played for a while when he was playing PS3. I mean, if for some reason like Microsoft were to shut down Minecraft, I mean, there would be like riots in the street, and I couldn't live in my house anymore because my son would go crazy and like break the wall or something. Like, but I mean,
pitchfork and torches.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of the unfortunate thing. I mean,
yeah.
It's something that could be said about a lot of technology. Like if you're investing in something that needs to continue to be supported, how much do you trust that it's going to continue?
Yeah.
Right? What if you have a router or something that requires cloud updates and they decide not to update it anymore? What if you have a smart...
Oh, I'm sorry.
What? Which one?
I didn't cough, Eero.
Right.
When Amazon finally gets bored with that?
What if you have a smartwatch that needs cloud updates? What if you have a smart speaker that requires being tied to the cloud? What if you have a smart camera?
Are you just like swiping at me personally?
Not on purpose.
Shots fired.
It happens to all of it. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
Right? It happens to all of us. And you've got to kind of, but that's like, it's a bad signal for companies that are trying to break into into a field or try to get you to do something else, because it's like, hey, wait a second, do I need your constant support for this or do I not?
Right.
Like anytime, you know, if you go to CES and you go to meet a startup or something and they tell you about some device they have, I think a question should be like, is this cloud dependent?
Right. And so when we did Collision, that was oftentimes one of our questions, right? Because Collision's a whole startup conference, early stage startup conference, and we did the numbers one time. I think it must have been from Collision 18 to 19. We went and checked how many of the companies we interviewed in 18 existed in 19, and it was like 13% of them or something like that. So that became a regular. Oh, it was 17 to 18. So in 18, it became a regular part of our question. You know, if and Todd during CES asks it, I think a little too harsh, but that's a whole different thing. If you disappear tomorrow, does this go in the trash? But that is the question, right? If the company goes away tomorrow, Insteon, what happens to all the products if one of the founders doesn't come back and repurchase the company? Which was a legitimate topic of ours just a couple of months ago. So yeah, it's a big part of our lives today, for better or worse. Definitely for worse.
Yeah. I mean, look, Google has a rep now, right? So if Google is to cut, I mean, that's just Google in particular, but
I think googlegraveyard.com, I think, is the timeline website.
It's killed by Google.
That's it.
Which I follow their Twitter account.
But if you think about that, if Google tries to come out with something else that's very cloud dependent, would you spend your money on it? Like, Stadia actually became somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I think a lot of people thought that Google was going to give up on it, didn't invest in it,
right,
and then Google gave up on it. So,
and just while we're on that topic, real quick, to the guy who made the comment that Avram and I were crazy, that it was a failing service from Google. Where are you now? Anyway,
look, I mean, I wish it success. I mean, that would have been nice, but I mean,
we wanted it to work, because with competition comes new ideas. It can't just be Microsoft, because Amazon misbranded theirs. It can't just be Microsoft doing this. We've got to have competition, and it's a shame it couldn't have been Google, but it's not the brand name. I had a conversation with somebody, I think, last week on this. It's not one of the brand names that come to mind when you think of gaming. Maybe it was you guys. I don't know. This week's been weird.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just to look around this room at the graveyard of devices that will never be useful ever again.
I mean, you could make an argument that the EU should make a law about this, similar to the e-waste laws for charging, because
the USB-C thing.
There's a lot of e-waste resultant from things. Now, I mean, when you're talking about a game that's only existed as software, that's not really a problem. But if you're talking about, like, devices, a watch, a router, a speaker, whatever,
this weird little touchscreen device that we sold at Radio Shack, that, I mean, if you told me I'll give you $1 million if you can come up with what it did, you'd have to keep your money. I got 3 of them around here somewhere, because I'd always hoped that I'd be able to, that somebody in the hacker community would come up with a new operating system for it and we could use the touchscreen, but it never happened.
I mean, theoretically, something like that, if you might be, depending on the size of the, how easy it is to dismantle, you might be able to use the touchscreen with another type of device, right? If you can rewire, you can connect to a Raspberry Pi or something like that.
True. That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that. one of these things will get cracked open soon. Thank you. But yeah, it's definitely unfortunate, whether it be a game like this or a device or whatever. It always sucks when the support goes out, but it hurts a little different when it's something that you actually invested time and energy into, like a game. So, it sucks, but based on the comments from the company themselves, so did the game. So, sometimes things happen. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, and GNC Week in Review is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus it actively blocks threats like worms, rogues, dialers, trojans, spyware, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. Speaking of the possibility of e-waste, in a whole different way, Amazon's getting ready to launch 2 test satellites for its internet constellation upcoming project, whatever you want to call it. It's obviously intended to compete directly with Starlink, because those two, they're just trying to one-up each other on everything they do. Maybe we'll get an Amazon flamethrower. Who knows? Fun little callback to earlier in the show. So in a press release on Wednesday, the company said that the prototypes will be riding into orbit on a Vulcan Centaur rocket in early 2023. Obviously, these internet constellations have had positive impacts. The head of the Tech Podcast Network has Starlink himself. We've seen what it's done in other parts of the world where internet has been cut off. But there's also a lot of complaints about what it does to the sky. Oftentimes, these things can easily be seen. They can screw up the actual constellations, things like that. And the sky is filled with space junk or e-waste. It just happens to be significantly larger than a Fire phone, if we're talking about e-waste, and floating in space-ish, depending on how far it is. There's definitely positives and negatives here. I don't know. What do you guys think about the complaints about all of the additional satellites being put up for these essentially mesh networks?
Is it going to cause a problem? Is it going to cause that big of a problem in outer space?
So some of it has. It has caused issues with the ground-based GPS at one point that was using some constellation-based stuff. It's causing problems for some of the space observatories. Now, is it a problem for you or I or an astronaut? Generally, no. Yeah, the space station was hit by space junk, but my guess is, unless these prototypes are a complete failure, that these won't necessarily become space junk, but they could. So many satellites do. Although I did hear that there was a plan from the UN maybe to have a timeline on abandoned hardware. I don't know how that would work, but
oh man, I mean, I think the biggest problem is the things being blown up, right? Because what's the name of it? If this happens, if there's too much space junk, then we literally can't have any more satellites, or no one can leave the Earth. I forget what the name of that effect is.
Yeah,
but
it's basically like a fishnet.
Yeah, you can't. So there have been times where I think like I forget what country it was, like blew up a satellite or something. Like, oh man, I mean that would be a disaster for all of human beings. So I mean I think it's great when they put more satellites up there. We better come up with some good ways to capture some of the space junk that is up there now, the debris, because there's definitely been situations where it almost caused serious tragedy on the International Space Station. And if there's too much debris, we may reach a point where we can no longer have satellites. And that would be like going back in technology a long way. So I really hope that it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, and if you look at this, so for Amazon to keep the FCC license that they have obtained, they've got to have, you ready for this, half of their satellites in orbit by 2026. Now, how many is that, you ask? Well, the full constellation is intended to be 3,236 satellites. That's a lot of flying garbage cans.
Yes. But it's not even the satellites themselves that are the biggest problem. It's the junk from like ones that have been broken and exploded into pieces.
Right, exactly. So, adding 3,000 more of these things up there is going to definitely annoy astronomers because they become visible through telescopes and stuff. But yeah, if this stuff doesn't work, it's just more nonsense in space. So there's a lot of pressure on Amazon, both for speed and fulfillment, right? They've got a timetable with the FCC that is in place that they're up against, but it also has to work. They can't just launch 1,600 satellites and goes, no, see, we got them up there. License is good. They've got to put them up there and they've got to work, right? So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I'm with Avram. I think it's great to have these satellites. However, the propensity for if they don't work, like you said, Scott, flying trash cans, but also too, in the same token,
I've always called satellites that because they look like it. They look like flying metal trash cans.
But also in the same token, I think that they're trying to capture Starlink and trying to capture, as much they want to get internet providers. They want to be the choice for, and the competition is good. But I think they're coming in way too late, and they're trying to catch up, put all these satellites up in the next couple of years. And I don't know. There's a lot of doubt I have with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially
considering they're being put up with essentially equally experimental rockets, right?
That may not work.
Right. So there's a lot of, because they also have a timetable, because they have a contract with the Space Force where they've got to have a certain number of successful launches by a certain date, or that contract is going to be revoked. So, I mean, there's a lot of like time-based scary things going on here, and a lot of experimentation, and all of that, could lead to problems and extra debris in the sky. But if everything goes well, again, competition is a good thing. If Burnt Hair is the only satellite company, then then we're going to end up in the same position that Avram and I have talked about with landline internet. If there's only one service provider, the price goes up and up and up and up and up and up.
Mm-hmm.
But then with wireless, you've got a company like T-Mobile that comes around and goes, "Oh yeah, we don't care about price. Watch this," and the whole industry changes.
Mm-hmm.
So competition will be good in this space, but it's got to work. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live Refreshing Technology and GNC Week in Review is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. We all know that you get free shipping on millions of products with Amazon Prime, but you get a whole lot more. Like free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming, plus a whole lot more. We've got links to all of these features and some of our favorites, plus a 30-day free trial, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. So one of the things we've been talking about has been the change in the streaming landscape. We talked earlier in GNC Week in Review about Netflix and the kind of things they're up to. One of the things they've been up to is an ad-supported tier. There had been lots of rumors, then confirmation that it existed, and then don't worry about it. Which obviously, anytime a company does that, the three of us get worried, and guesses come, and guesses end in conversations like we had earlier, which is always weird. Now we have information about the details of the rollout. The service is going to be $6.99 per month in the US, Australia, and your normal Netflix rollout countries. It will obviously have ads in it. It will be 720p as its maximum streaming, and of course, we can make the assumption, though I have not seen anything about it, that like the base plan that currently exists, it will be a single source or a single destination at a time. I don't know. As we've talked about on both shows, actually, the idea of the ad-supported platform, I don't think appealed to any of us, though I think we all decided that there was a market for it. We weren't it, but there is a target demo for it.
Mm-hmm.
So $6.99, significantly less expensive than the most common Netflix plan, which I think is now like $88 a month. No,
no.
Is it like $16.49 now or something?
I think that's what I'm spending for, because I have 3 devices. So yeah,
I need to check how much I'm paying for this now, because I'm trying to check right now. It's making noise. All right, I'll check later. But I on the cheap account, the cheapest one, and it's too much money.
Mm-hmm.
On the cheapest one, and it's too. So I will probably go to the ad-supported myself. Although I have to ask, aren't you supposed to not be able to get some content on the ad-supported?
Yes. Yep. Just like the inverse, when Hulu launched the no ad version of Hulu, there were 16 shows that were unavailable or ran ads anyway. The Blacklist was a great example, because the contracts had been negotiated specifically to be ad-free, and there were other contracts with that content on other platforms. Streaming world is so unbelievably complicated. And so this is going to be the same way. There is going to be some content that there are contracts with that cannot be run on the ad-free platform. Not on the ad-supported platform. Sorry. Bloop, bloop.
So I'm paying $9.99 a month.
Okay. Yep.
So if it's Netflix exclusive content, will it be on the AdSport platform?
From what I understand, everything Netflix owned should be on there.
Great.
So it's just the licensed stuff that will be in question, from what I understand. Now, is there a possibility that there is a weird contract like Netflix's Marvel shows? Possibly, but it's not likely.
Yeah, mine's $15 a month. $15.49 for mine.
See, I knew it was a weird number.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I mean, and then when you add up this plus Paramount plus Peacock plus BritBox, Acorn TV, the list goes on.
Yeah.
Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO Max, AMC Plus, Discovery Plus.
There you go.
What did I miss?
No, you got.
Did you get Peacock in there?
Yes, I said Peacock.
Okay. I was reading a headline that just came up that
YouTube
threw me
TV.
off for a second.
YouTube TV.
Yeah.
So.
And we also dissected about why they're naming these streaming sources Plus. CNN Plus and Discovery Plus and
well, the good news is you don't have to worry about paying for CNN Plus.
This is true. Right. Right.
That one almost made it a week.
Yeah, not even. Yeah.
Right.
Not even. All right. Well, all right. And finally, for fans of Stranger Things and out there, excuse me, and you're an adult, on Tuesday, Kellogg's announced the debut of Eggo Nog Appalachian Sippin' Cream. Say that 5 times real fast.
I saw an image for this, and I thought it was a joke. Continue.
Okay. No, it's not a joke. This is actually real, just like the burnt hairs are actually true. This is an eggnog liqueur flavored with rum, cinnamon, and nutmeg. This is a collaboration between Eggo and Sugarland's Distilling Company. The creation marks the Waffles brand's first entry into the adult beverage game. Eggo touts the nog as a remedy for tax parents who feel burnt out from the holidays. Eggo's marketing director, Joe Buprez, if I'm mispronouncing his name, I apologize, served up the following sales pitch, quote, paired perfectly with our Eggo thick and puffy waffles, maybe even topped with a dollop of ice cream. Eggo Nog is sure to help parents Lego during one of the most busiest time of the year. The drink will be available for a limited time this holiday season in select regions throughout the U.S. To find an Eggo Nog retailer near you, visit the Sugarlands website. We'll have this in the show notes, where you can also check out cocktail recipes like Dirty Santa's Nog, the Rudolph Drunk Caramel Apple, or the Peppermint White Russian. So there you go. So would you partake in Lego My Nog?
Abram? It was the worst.
Probably not. But look, whatever they want to do to see if they can, drum up some business or publicity.
Yeah.
You know what? I guess you got to drink that so that when your partner sprays on the Elon Musk perfume, it doesn't bother you as much.
Avram, I thought you were going to say gas for a second there. I really did. Oh, I got that one line. So there you go. So food for thought, so to speak. Literally and figuratively. All right, that is tech news for this week for Saturday, October 16th, 2022. A special episode of GNC refreshing technology. Show notes from this episode can be found at gncweekly.com. Also, be sure to check out the latest tech news and commentary from geeknewscentral.com. And be sure to tune in Mondays and Thursday evenings at geeknewscentral.com/live for the Geek News Central podcast. And then be sure to watch and tune in next Sunday for another special episode of GNC Week Review and F5 Refreshing Technology at gncsweekly.com/live, roughly around 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And as always, if you're new to the podcast, be sure to like and subscribe to the GNCWIR channel on YouTube. Also, please make sure to click on the bell and always select notifications so you will not miss the next episode. Also, be sure to share this episode with people you know and check out the podcast and pass along the word that this podcast is easy to describe in your favorite podcast app. And be sure to tune in to F5 Live Refreshing Technology with Scott and Avram Piltch, after our last special episode next Sunday. After that, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Be at f5live.tv/join us, or be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app. You have a comment on comments on this week's episode, we'd love to hear them. Head on over to gncweekly.com/connect and connect via Twitter, email, Twitter, or Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm at Kirk Corliss. Scott is on Twitter at TTTMABO. Avram is on Twitter at Geek in Chief. Till the next special episode of GNC Week in Review and F5 Refreshing Technology. So long.
Ciao.